American pediatrician Benjamin Spock once said children can be well behaved, cooperative, and polite without ever having been punished physically. The first time I read this quote, I did not share this view. My sister and I grew up living with our father, and whenever we broke a rule and disobeyed him, he would beat us, sometimes with a belt, and other times with a stick. I didn't see anything wrong with this. After all, that's what you're supposed to do to misbehaving kids. My view on this was not swayed until I found myself debating the topic in middle school. A fellow classmate argued passionately against it while I supported it. I remember saying to her, my father whipped me and I turned out fine. She looked at me and said, no, you didn't. You think it's okay to hit a kid. Those words struck a nerve and caused me to step back and reanalyze how I've been interpreting my experiences dealing with physical punishments as a discipline. Parents should not resort to physical punishment as a discipline technique because it results in their child's mental health having long-term detrimental effects, the relationship with their child being damaged, and this discipline technique isn't an effective method in correcting a child's problematic behavior. My name is Anaya Hall, and today I'm going to discuss why parents should not resort to physical punishment as a discipline technique by analyzing the effects it has on how a child communicates and the overall effectiveness of the method as a whole. First, let's examine the long-term detrimental effects physical punishments can have on a child's mental health and how this affects their social skills. According to Dr. Murray Strauss, physical punishments can turn into a chronic stressor for young children, especially if the parent is using this method of discipline 3 or more times a week. Children who experience physical punishments also are more likely to divide their parents, as well as experience increased antisocial behavior, aggression, and mental health problems and cognitive difficulties. A 2009 study supports this, discovering that adults who underwent physical punishments on multiple occasions throughout their childhood had reduced gray matter volume in the area of the prefrontal cortex, and an area which is responsible for individuals' social cognition. These research findings indicate that physical punishments could have a permanent adverse effects upon a child's interpersonal communication processes, since the part of their brain in charge of social cognition has been reduced, which could potentially cause the child to display antisocial behavior and potentially affect their interpersonal communication competence. The possible effects could result in the child having difficulty learning, or being unable to properly socialize and connect with other people and form healthy relationships. Now that we examine the long-term detrimental effects physical punishment can have on a child's psychological state, let's switch gears and talk about how it can also severely damage a parent's relationship with their child. Parenting expert Ann Douglas claims that physical punishment really damages the parent-child relationship because rather than influencing the child into respecting the parent, it does the opposite and makes them fear the parent. As a result of the child's relationship with their parent being tense from physical punishments, the child does not feel comfortable opening up themselves to their parent on any level deeper than superficial self-disclosure. This is bad because according to Dr. Robert Siege, a pediatrician at Tufts Medical Center, an individual's bond with their parent is one of the most important relationships we all have. If a child finds it hard to share intimate information with their parent, then they might find it difficult to do so with others, which could impact their success in developing relationships, platonic and or romantic. In my case, this is true. After years of exposure to physical punishments, I found myself avoiding situations where I'd have to confide to my father or giving him fake answers when questioned about my thoughts. Rather than resorting to physical punishments, parents should opt to simply talk things through with their child, as well as utilize the same kind of communication skills and respect we give to other adults in order to bring that attitude and approach into our problem solving to our relationships with our kids. If parents took this approach, it would lead to lower chances of their child having problems with self-disclosure, so that they would be more comfortable opening up past the surface level in terms of personal things about themselves and their feelings. Lastly, let's analyze the overall effectiveness of physical punishment in terms of correcting a child's problematic behavior, as well as alternative discipline strategies. A 2016 evaluation of various child-rearing studies concluded that children do not benefit from spanking. Physical punishment not only results in increased aggression, it also makes it more likely that the child will be defiant in the future, making it not an effective strategy since it does not actually encourage the child to behave. This is because physical punishments only prioritizes getting compliance in the second the problematic behavior occurs rather than looking at the longer term goals. This form of discipline also causes a child to develop a really warped idea about power, since it sends the message that if you're bigger and have more power than another person, then it's okay to bully them into submission. For instance, as stated previously, children who are physically punished have higher chances of displaying intense aggression, and they might rely upon this aggressive behavior to solve their conflicts, rather than trying to collaborate with someone to find a solution to benefit both parties, therefore causing them to have poor conflict management styles. Efficient discipline techniques would consist of practicing empathy as well as learning how to comprehend how to treat your child in different stages in development, in order to properly teach them how to cool down when things do get explosive. Rather than resorting to physical discipline, a parent could substitute by using timeouts and establishing a clear relationship between behavior and consequences, as well as rewarding positive behavior, all of which pediatricians state to be more effective strategies than physical punishment. This method of discipline would also ensure the child develops better interpersonal communication competence, as well as not resort to aggression to solve their social conflicts. Today we took a closer look in various ways physical punishments negatively impact children in terms of interpersonal communication, as well as ways to remedy this issue. This matter is important for anyone who's a parent or considering to be one in the near future. You must consider rejecting physical punishment as a form of discipline and adopt safer alternative methods for chastisement if we are going to avert the possibility of a child suffering from long-term detrimental effects on their mental health, damaging their relationship with their parent, and unchecked problematic behavior that physical punishments fail to permanently correct. Other strategies you could opt for instead include timeouts and one-on-ones with your child to communicate with them in order to nurture a healthy relationship, as well as ensure your child's interpersonal communication processes develop in a good shape. Yes, your grandparents may have done it to your parents and they in turn to you, but that does not mean you must follow in their footsteps. Break the cycle today and learn to properly communicate with your child like how you wish your parents would have done for you.